Today, we're going to talk about something a lot of us feel but maybe can't quite put into words. It's that sense that your childhood wrapped up way too soon and how that still echoes in your life, years and years later.
You know this moment. Someone asks a totally innocent question, like, "So what was your childhood like?" And you just freeze. There's this pause. It's not because you have nothing to say or because it was all bad. It's just a different kind of silence.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? For so many people, it's not about some big, singular traumatic event. It's more like a gap. It's this feeling that you were reading a book, and somewhere along the way, you had to skip a whole bunch of chapters just to get to the end.
So where on earth does this feeling come from? Well, it turns out it's not just some vague, fuzzy feeling. Psychologically, it's a pretty powerful survival adaptation that gets wired in when we're young. So let's go back and trace it to its source.
It almost always starts in these small, quiet moments. Not the stuff of movies, but the steady, constant weight of adult responsibilities. It's things like making dinner for your younger siblings when you're only 9 years old, or being the emotional translator between your parents when they argue. It's learning how to read the tension in a room long before you could even read a chapter book. It's slowly, quietly becoming the most responsible person in the house, not because you wanted to, but because you had to.
And yeah, there's a clinical term for this. Psychologists call it parentification. It's a very neat academic-sounding word for something that feels incredibly messy and heavy. It's when a kid basically has to step into the role of a parent or a caregiver. But this right here, this is the part that I think is so important. Based on research by people like Dr. Lisa M. Hooper, there's a critical distinction to make. What the outside world might look at and call maturity, like, oh, what a mature little kid. It's not actually maturity at all. It's a survival adaptation. It's a coping mechanism, pure and simple.
And this has a deep, real, physiological impact. Your young nervous system literally learned to operate in a constant state of high alert. Crisis mode became your default setting. You didn't just learn a new skill, you built an entire operating system around it. And guess what? That old software? It's probably still running in the background right now.
Okay, so that's the origin story. But what about the echo? How does this show up in our adult lives? Well, it turns out those childhood superpowers, like being hyper-aware or super responsible, they come with a hidden price tag. And it's a bill you usually don't even start to pay until much, much later. This right here is the fundamental conflict of being an adult who grew up too fast. The world looks at you and sees someone who is reliable, capable, who can handle anything you throw at them. But on the inside, you just feel exhausted. They see this independent, strong person, but you feel deeply, profoundly alone. They think you're low maintenance, but really, you're just constantly on guard, waiting for the other shoe to drop. All of that early programming, it completely rewires how you approach relationships. And it leads to this really confusing paradox. You might crave stability, you might want consistent love more than anything, but when you actually get it, why does it feel so weird, so uncomfortable? And the answer is both simple and, well, kind of heartbreaking. It's because unavailable feels familiar. It actually feels like home. See, if your childhood was a place where you were constantly giving and rarely receiving, then a relationship where you have to do all the work, that feels normal. It feels right. Stable, consistent love can feel totally foreign, maybe even a little suspicious, because it doesn't fit the pattern you learned so early on. So this is what that old operating system looks like when it's running on adult hardware. It shows up as this intense need to control everything, because back then, unpredictability was dangerous. You might find yourself drawn to partners who need fixing, because that role of helper is the only one where you feel truly valued. In the exhaustion, oh man, it's this bone-deep tiredness that no amount of sleep can ever seem to fix, because your nervous system just never got the memo that it's okay to stand down. And underneath it all is this core belief: my worth is completely tied to how useful I am to other people.
And here's the cruelest irony of all. Society loves this. Our culture absolutely rewards people who grew up too fast. You're praised for being productive, for being independent, for being the person who just gets things done. The world celebrates the very traits that were forged in that struggle, but it never ever asks what it cost you to get them.
Okay, so what in the world do you do with all of this information? How do you even begin to heal from something that wasn't a single event, but 1,000 tiny moments? The good news is there is a path. It's really about learning and grieving, and maybe most importantly, giving yourself permission. It really boils down to these 3 steps. First, you have to let yourself grieve the childhood you didn't get.
And that's not being dramatic or ungrateful, it's just being honest. Second, you start the really hard work of untangling your sense of self-worth from your to-do list. And third, and this one is huge, you have to let yourself be a total beginner at being cared for. You never learned how, so of course it's going to feel awkward now. That's okay.
This quote just nails that second step. It's about a fundamental shift in how you see yourself. For your whole life, you've been valued for what you did. The healing comes when you start to believe, really believe, that you have value just because you are, that just being is enough.
So think of this as your official permission slip. It is okay to rest without feeling guilty. It is okay to not be the one with all the answers. And yes, it is absolutely okay for you to be the one who falls apart sometimes, and to let someone else be strong for a change.
All right, let's bring this all home with one final thought. This is a message for you, the adult you are today, and also for that little part of you that has been working so hard for so long. I really want you to take this in. That child, the one who had to be the adult in the room, they did an incredible job. They were brave, they were resourceful, and they kept you safe. Their job is done. They can finally rest now.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What would it actually feel like to finally let go?